Outdoor Genetics is proudly sponsored by Chum Bums. Chum Bums is an outdoor adventure community and is owned and operated by military veterans that promote conservative American values. This private social media platform is only accessible to members through the Chum Bums app. But let me tell you what, there's no paid advertisements on their social media platform. They never own or sell your data, and you can create your own private groups within a secured platform. This allows them to create a custom experience just for you and your organization by providing a change of pace compared to what other social media platforms offer today. Chum Bums is a great place, guys, for outdoorsmen to come together. No matter what your walk of life is, one thing that you can guarantee is that you're going to come here and you are going to see a bunch of people. They may not be hunting like you, or they may not be gardening like you, or climbing the tallest mountains like you, but let me tell you what, you are going to find an amazing community. Notice I didn't just say a group. You are going to find an amazing community of people, of outdoorsmen that support each other in everybody's walk of life. And how amazing is that alone? To know that I'm going to be able to go to talk to people that I've never met in a place where I'm not worried about cancel culture shutting us down. People wanting to get rid of what we're doing. Our lifestyle is a dying breed, and Chum Bums is a place where we can go to make sure that the outdoor industry stays alive and thriving. Guys, be sure to go check out Chum Bums. All right. Well, let's get started. So like we said, oh man, see, here we go. I'm going to start clicking again. I'm going to set that down. So we're going to be talking about close encounters today, and we've had a few people ask us some questions about different species here in Oklahoma and some of the things that we've experienced. And one of those animals that we tend to come in contact with a lot, and there's a lot of controversy over, is the feral hog.
Feral hogs.
The feral hogs here in Oklahoma, are they as dangerous as people make them out to be? Or are they just big old teddy bears? I think they're teddy bears. Just kidding. Totally just kidding.
Yeah, you totally just want to get up there and cuddle up with them.
Right. Snuggle up, no big deal. Wild
Especially
animal.
the babies.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely. Don't do that. That's bad advice. I don't know, what do you think? You think they're as dangerous as what people say?
Well, given any wild animal, I mean, you always got to be respectful of any animal.
Well, sure.
I don't care if it's a feral hog, if it's a little cute, cuddly squirrel, or whatever be the case. I mean, you always got to give every animal the respect that they deserve. I'm not saying just go up there and grab up every animal you find,
Right.
They're not going to be as docile and as easygoing as a tree frog.
Well, sure.
But my personal encounters of the feral hogs has not been a bad encounter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that I don't go out in the woods after hearing all the so-called horror stories and get puckered up when you're walking out in the woods in the dark.
Sure.
Because the way I like to hunt, I used to go out in the dark. I don't go out in the dark anymore because the pig population is so high. The way I see it, I like to see.
You've never had that bad encounter, but you don't want to.
I don't want to
take that chance.
Take that chance and jinx myself.
Right.
So typically,
better be knocking on some wood. There's
yeah, knocking on some wood. But yeah, I typically like to go out, as the sun's coming up, where I can see, so I know if something's coming at me, I can get out of the way.
Right.
Just my own security. I guess you can call me a little pansy. But I respect these animals. But no, I've never had a bad encounter with pigs, and I'm not saying that I've had probably as many as a lot of people that target pigs per se.
Sure.
But I mean, here in Oklahoma, at some point or another, you're going to have a hog encounter.
You're going to run into the pigs. The pig population here in Oklahoma. I mean, I remember I'm gonna take it back just about 10 years ago on the property some property that I hunted on for a long time. I just recently lost the property, but that property just 10 years ago, if you saw a pig out there, it was because somebody shot one and dumped it out there on the property, mm-hmm. or out by the road out there or something, to that extent. If you ever saw a live pig out there, that was a rarity, a 100% rarity. And now you're lucky to go 50 yards and not run into more pigs.
I mean, they have a sign.
Or some sort of sign proving that they are there. I mean, the population went from 0 to maximum capacity like that. Right. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, you're right. I mean, you're here, at least in our part of the state, I guess I can't say I'm going to guarantee that you're going to run into hogs.
But it's not uncommon.
It's not uncommon. It's probably going to happen.
Yeah, sooner or later, it's likely to happen.
Yeah, definitely.
I know I was at one time, and this is my closest encounter, other than, trapping.
Well, sure.
Because, I mean, we try to do our part because, I mean, they're a nuisance animal.
They are a nuisance animal.
But, boy, they sure do taste good on some grease.
You ain't
just
kidding.
Some biscuits and gravy.
Oh, man. Throw it on the smoker, low and slow.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
You don't eat better than that. And for those of y'all out there listening, if you've never had ground wild hog.
This guy turned me on to that. I'd never had ground wild hog before, but this guy turned me on to it. You're missing out if you haven't done it. You make it burgers, you make it into sausage patties, whatever. I know there's not a lot of fat content on a wild pig, but I will say you can throw a little bit of bread in that ground meat right before you go to cook it. You can throw lard in it, whatever you want to do. But I'm telling you what, that's pretty good stuff.
Oh, it's good. It is so good. And what fat you do have, man, grind that up in there. Now if you get a big hog, this is off topic, but if you get on a big hog, I mean, there's a good fat and there's a bad fat.
Yep, definitely.
And you kind of, the way I've always worked, if it doesn't smell right to me, I'm not putting it in my body.
Right, the smell test.
The smell test.
Yep, absolutely.
Also on those bigger wild hogs, I believe, how they've got that armor. And people talk about, how to shoot them, what to shoot them with, what not to shoot them with, I believe, honestly, my opinion, that it's not so much as an armor shield as it is that the bigger they get more of a fat content, and that fat becomes harder.
And that's essentially what it is. It's almost like you've got your epidermis, and then you got your endodermis. I believe it's called the endodermis. I might be showing my foolishness on thinking on I know what I'm talking about, but I believe it's called your endodermis, and that's basically what that is. And that is, to my understanding, is basically exactly what it is. It's a fat content that is super dense, and that's why if you've ever skint a hog to, like, let's say, cape it out to, like, get one mounted. You can't just treat it like a deer, fold that hide over, and just start peeling it down its back by hand.
No.
I mean, you are cutting every step of the way, and that skin a lot of times is bowed way out.
Absolutely.
Because that stuff is so dense and thick. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I mean, you got that section right there. I don't know if you can see my hands on here, but I'm just talking with my hands. I'm pulling a Tim.
Yeah, there you go.
But, you can get down below that to where that gets softer, and that's your good fat. But, I mean, you're talking about spaghetti. Oh, have you tried the spaghetti with it yet?
I will say I do not do a lot of spaghetti because of all the tomato sauce.
Well, you can back down on the tomato sauce, pack on the wild pork, and just throw a little bit in there just to get that flavor. Oh, son. Okay, stews.
Yeah.
Hamburger stew, wild pork stew.
Good stuff, huh?
I'm telling you. Make you want to slap your mama 3 times. Not that we want to do that, but it's that good. But, I mean, anything that you would use for hamburger, wild pork, guys, if you haven't tried it, try it. I don't care how big the pig is. I know, we're getting off topic again. Maybe we need to say that for another time.
Okay, well, that's up to you. Well, yeah, we can do that. We'll do another topic over cooking our food.
Exactly.
Cooking what we harvest. We can talk about that.
That'd probably be a good idea, because I could go on and on and on.
Oh, man, you and me both. You know how I am. Oh, my goodness. But, all right,
close encounters.
Close encounters. So yeah,
I was out hunting one time with a good friend of mine, and this friend of mine always seemed to be kind of like that good luck charm. So I'm not saying that it happened every time, but you could pretty well guarantee I could be hunting all week and not harvest anything. But if he went with me, I was going to harvest something like clockwork.
Right.
It just worked that way. So I was actually out deer hunting this time, and I'd had a pretty good size buck that had been coming in that I was trying to go target. And we finally got set up, bow hunting. Didn't have no pistol or anything with this, no pig sticking knife as we call them around here. Basically, it was just one bow and that was it. And long story short, on the hunt deal, we'd been sitting there quite a while and had heard this odd sound that I'd never heard before in my life. Granted, I'm new. At the time, I was new to hunting in Oklahoma and dealing with the pig population, or the pigs in general. And so, I know they grunt and they squeal. That's your two key factors on a pig, grunting and squealing. And I heard something that sounded kind of like a snort. And I know it wasn't a deer blow or a deer snort. And the only thing I could think of was, it was a pig. And throughout the evening, I kept hearing this sound off and on, but it was getting farther and farther away towards where I, parked my truck. And so finally, it's getting to that prime time to be deer hunting. The sun's coming down. You're down the last 30, 45 minutes. This is when the good stuff happens. And I had heard it again. And I looked at my buddy, and I said, I'm done. He goes, what do you mean you're done hunting? I said, I'm done. I said, I don't know what that is, but it's close to the pickups. And I said, I didn't bring a flashlight. I said, I do not want to meet whatever it is in the dark. Not being able to see where I'm at, what's coming at me. Why I also typically make sure that I can see getting in and out.
Right.
And he was like, well, we're going to miss the best part of hunting. I said, that's fine. That's fine by me. But I said, I'm going to the truck. You can stay here if you want. I said, you don't have no gun or nothing or no bow. I said, that's fine. But I said, I unlocked my arrow, and I'm putting all this together. And he's like, oh, you're serious? I'm like, yeah, I'm serious. And I'm climbing down. And I said, I'll see you at the truck, I guess. And, he decided, that he was going to come with me. So I'm trudging the ground pretty quick. We're probably, as the crow flies, probably, I don't know, half to 3/4 of a mile away from the truck. Walking distance, we're definitely farther with the jogs and this and that. And we get within about 100 to 150 yards of my pickup. Still can't see it. I'm on the last bend where I wrap around and go down in a creek bottom and go up the creek, and then there's my pickup right there. Well, I'm right about to there, and I'm looking on the ground, I'm always looking when I'm hunting, for whatever. And I start noticing I'm seeing these tracks. They weren't here on the way in. And I'm like, my goodness, what is that? I was like, that's got to be pigs. And so I look at it, I'm like, yeah, it's pig tracks. And I keep on going farther and farther and farther, and it's just like literally covered. It looks like a Chinese checkers board, dots all over the place. And about that time, I look up, and I am in the middle of a herd of pigs. And I'm not talking about like 5 or 6. I'm talking about 30, 40.
Right.
And the closest one being about probably 6 yards away from me. And I instantly freeze, and I'm like, oh, crap. What do I do in this situation? I can barely see them.
And hearing all the horror stories.
I don't know what to do. Now, granted, I'm in the timber, so it's darker than what it is, but I'm still within legal shooting light.
Right.
And so I'm like, well, if I'm going down with the pig. So I go ahead and I tell my buddy, he looks at me, and he's like, what do we do now? I was like, just be still. And so I draw back at full draw, and I find this big old sow that's about 40 yards out. And I'm like, I'm fixing to drill her. And about that time, I got to thinking, how smart is this right now? I've never had a bad encounter, but I don't want this to be my first bad encounter because I have no trees that I can climb up. And I almost let loose the arrow, but decided it was my best interest not to do it.
Right.
Because if one of the piglets squealed or something like that, how many sows do I have here? And there was piglets everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
Is defense mode going to kick in for them guys? And am I going to be safe?
Right.
So I went ahead and let my bow off. Next thing I know, the woods explode. These pigs know, okay, something's up, this ain't cool, and they are running all around us.
Mm-hmm.
Blowing, snorting, this and that. And so I'm standing there, and, I'm shaking the stuff down my pants, because I think something might have happened.
Right.
If you know what I mean.
Right.
And I talked
In other words, he's thinking he may have crapped himself, for those of you that didn't catch that.
Exactly. And so I'm sitting there talking to my bud. I'm like, that was close. That was a close call. And I don't hear nothing. And I said, are you there? Not granted, I think you've noticed I'm not calling the name out because
Right.
And I don't hear nothing. And I did forget he did have his pocket knife on him. And I'm still standing there frozen, and I'm like, hey, are you there? And next thing I know, I look back behind me, and my friend has got his knife drawn up like this, slowly walking backwards. At this point, he's about 25, 30 yards behind me. And I'm like, dude, come here. He looks at me and goes, I said, come on, let's get to the truck before we run out of light. He goes, I won't say the rest that happened. It's funny, but anyway, we finally make a push to get to the truck. Getting down the creek, we bust another herd of pigs.
Mm-hmm.
And made it to the truck. We had a very nerve-wracking encounter.
Right.
But,
not an actual
bad
encounter.
Bad experience.
Not something dangerous, I guess.
Exactly.
Right. Well, see, and for me, now granted, I have been hog hunting ever since we moved to Oklahoma. Both guns, bows, dogs, spears, knives, however and whatever I can do to hunt these pigs. And I would say probably the biggest thing that's ever happened to me was unknowingly I provoked a pig to charge me. And so this is where it's good, because where you've never had that experience and you're saying, you don't necessarily feel that it's quite dangerous. They more or less just want to get away from you.
Exactly.
And I'm not saying that they don't. I mean, I totally agree with that. I think they want to get away from you more than they want to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
But nevertheless, my experience, one of many close encounters with these pigs was it was the opening weekend of bow season, and it's decently early in the afternoon. I'm walking out to my stand for an evening hunt, and my trail that I always walked in on, I like to walk in on it because it was closer to a pond.
Mm-hmm.
And it was out of the leaves, it was out of the grass, so I could walk quietly and not worry about spreading my scent so much. My scent's not just flaking off on all the brush and everything that I would normally have to walk through. Well, I'm walking down that trail, and I'm just kind of making good time, and about that time I hear and that it's getting closer. I mean, and it's coming quick. And I turn around and I see this pig. She's charging at me. Now, with that being said, this was not a large pig. This was 50 pounds absolute max. It's like 50 pounds was probably being a little courteous. That she was not a very big pig, but she is running dead at me, straight at me, flying. Well, my first instinct, of course, I'm bow hunting, so I draw my bow back, shoot, and of course, at this point, she's probably 15, 20 yards from me. When I shoot at her, complete miss. Complete freaking miss. So, as she's running to me, I literally kind of step off to the side, take my bow like a ball bat, and... Well, because my way of thinking is if I hit this thing, show her that I ain't scared of her, maybe she'll leave me alone, right? All right, she'll back off. Wham, I hit her, and when I hit her, she, just did her quick little squill, ran about maybe 5-10 more yards out in front of me. She turned around, and she looked at me, and just kind of was like, you could tell she was mad, and she looked over toward the actual woods, and then took off running. And then when she took off running, that was when I saw, probably 8 to 10 piglets run off with her. So unknowingly, I got in between her and her piglets, and she was being a good mama is what she was doing. She was protecting her young from something that, you know, could potentially be detrimental to her youngins. So unknowingly, I provoked that. But with that, I'm going to say they can be dangerous given the right situation. But typically, just like the other day when I shot those pigs the other day, they were trying to get away from me. They didn't want nothing to do with me. There was a whole group of them, and I ended up shooting 2 of them and killing 2 of them. They wanted to get away. So typically, they're about like any other animal. If you back a rat, or a mouse for that matter, you back a mouse into a corner,
he's going to fight.
That mouse is going to fight. You give a reason for that mouse to fight, they're going to fight. Now, sure, you've got the rarities of the rabid animals and stuff like that. But generally speaking, animals want to run away. Same way, I mean, typically speaking, I'm not just going to walk up to a bear and slap him in the face and say, hey, you want to fight? You know, you know, I'm generally going to walk away from a bear or take precautions, which we'll get into that topic here in just a little bit because we do have some close encounters with some bear stories here. But anyways, so I'm going to say, are they dangerous? They can be. Very much so, especially in my opinion, more on the sows. Because of the fact that you never know when there's going to be piglets around. And by God, if you shoot one and it's just injured, then you really could be asking for trouble. I know you probably have stories I've got. I could probably sit here for the next 4 hours sharing stories and not reach through all the stories of close encounters that I've had with injured pigs, or pigs that were chasing with dogs and stuff like that. But nevertheless, I think they can be. But from my experience over the last going on 17 years of hog hunting, they are not nearly as dangerous as what people make them out to be.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think it's just all about timing, right place, right time, wrong place, wrong time.
Right.
You know,
with the right pig or the wrong pig.
Yeah. Bottom line, with me, always be aware of your surroundings, or try to be.
Yeah.
Give them, unless you're targeting them, give them the respect and give them their space.
Give them their space. I mean, you know what? And that's any animal. You know, I mean, it's like now, yeah, there are those people out there, and you see them a lot on TikTok and stuff like that. They think they need to go out there and punch a turkey in the head to prove something. You know, they need to call that turkey in and punch it in the head or sneak up on it, or they need to reach out there and grab a goose, or, you know, something like that. That's so disrespectful to the animal. You know what? We're outdoorsmen. We need to show the respect that the animal deserves. And quite frankly, if you don't believe the animal deserves the respect, then you're not an outdoorsman.
I love all animals. All
right.
Animals.
You know, I have a true passion. You know, yeah, pigs are a nuisance. Coyotes are a nuisance. You know, these animals cause problems in our ecosystem. But in no way, in any shape, form, or fashion do I want that animal to suffer. In no way, shape, form, or fashion do I believe it's okay for me to disrespect that animal.
No.
You know, a couple years ago, there was those 2 kids that got in a lot of trouble for abusing that buck that they had shot, and it was just wounded. And I can't remember where that's at, and I'm not asking anybody to call out names or anything like that. But, you know, more than just disturbing because of what they were doing, more than disturbing to me, it was the amount of disrespect the lack of respect that they didn't have for the animal. I mean, just straight up, they didn't have the respect for the animal. And you know what? That turned around and bit them in the butt. And they caught a lot of grief for that. And quite frankly, those were not outdoorsmen. They are a poor representation of what a true outdoorsman is all about. And if anybody listening to this saw that and knows what story I'm talking about, whether you are an outdoorsman or not, just know that that is truly, excuse my French here, a piss poor representation of what the outdoor industry is all about. My 2 cents on that. With that, we are coming up on 30 minutes in.
Right now.
Let's take a break. And we'll come back. We got some elk stories coming at y'all. And
Who doesn't like a good elk story?
Who doesn't love a good elk story? We got some bear stories. We got a wolverine story. We got a couple of beaver stories. We're going to try to get through them for Close Encounters. And what we can't get through today, I guess we'll have to do a
Part 2.
Close Encounters Part 2. 'Cause I'm telling you what, I mean, I'm sure you...
Well, honestly, we could probably have 40 parts.
We could probably do a bunch of parts,
More.
and then that's just between you and me. That's not including Michelle, Tim, Duff, Brandon, Josh, Allison. Yeah, all of our guys. I'm sure between all of us guys, everybody on the team, I bet we could sit down. We could probably have a 50-part series of Close Encounters. Legitimately Close Encounters, not just, oh, look, there's a fish. No, we're talking like legitimate.
Up close and impersonal, live action.
Live action, getting on it. When you're noodling and you look up on the bank and there's a cottonmouth, and I know the difference between my snakes. I love snakes. Snake catcher. Love snakes. But when there's a cottonmouth staring at you dead in the face, not even 2 foot away, when you're noodling and you're checking a bank hole, yeah, Close Encounters. And what happened at that time, I'm not going to go into that right now because we're about to take a break, and we'll be back soon. Hey guys, thanks for checking out this week's podcast, and we hope you stick around for part 2, which will be posted very soon. And if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button, turn on that bell notification so that you'll be notified the next time we upload some content. Guys, very soon we have a very special guest coming onto the show, so make sure to be sticking around and be following for that, as we will be posting on our Facebook, on our TikTok, and here on YouTube. Hopefully some sneak peeks about what y'all can expect coming up here in the very near future on the Outdoor Genetics podcast. Make sure to turn on that bell notification, guys, because it's going to be something you don't want to miss. We'll see y'all soon.